Over the past 4 decades, even as tennis has gone relentlessly global, Australia has remained a pillar of the sport. On both the men's side and on the women's, Australians have reached the top spot in the rankings. And Aussies have been champs at Wimbledon, in New York, and on the clay of Paris. What's more, Australia has given us tennis characters, Hall of Fame doubles players, and killer coaches. The Australian Open has grown immeasurably and is now on par with the other majors. But here's a tennis feat Australia hasn't achieved over the last 4 decades, serving up a homegrown singles winner at the Australian Open. There have been a few close calls. Leighton Hewitt reached the finals, Pat Cash made the last round 2 straight years, and another Aussie Pat, Rafter, reached the semis. But the last time an Aussie won the title here, well, it makes for a good bit of trivia. For the men, it was Mark Edmondson in 1976. For the women, well, you win if you knew the answer was Chris O'Neill in 1978. More interesting, the why. Why has it been so long since Aussies have done in Melbourne what they've successfully done elsewhere? Well, there have been some rough draws, great players from other countries, and there have been some rough conditions. And remember, Australia is home to just 25 million citizens, a smaller population than that of Texas. And therein might lie the best explanation. This island is by far the smallest of the 4 Grand Slam nations, so when the show comes to town, it's a big deal. And local players take the court freighted with pressure. Pat Rafter has talked about it, and so has Mark Philippoussis, a finalist in New York and at Wimbledon who never got beyond round 4 in Melbourne. You've heard of a home court advantage? This sport can offer the opposite effect.
It's a beautiful court in front of a packed house. There's nothing better.
And here now comes Ash Barty, the first Aussie woman in the Open era to enter her home major as the top seed. We'll see if she can reverse the curse. Never mind 7 opponents, she'll need to triumph over an eager and attentive sporting public. That's what it will take for a local to come good, and as they say here, finally come up over, down under.
Well done, as always, John. Take a look at this. For Chris O'Neill, that was her only career title. Never passed the 3rd round in any other major. Highest rank of 80. How insane is that? Mark Edmondson, just 1 other major semifinal in singles, and yet here you are. Last 2 singles champs, Aussies in Australia. So Martina, this year, once again, Ash Barty is the top seed. She's the world #1. How much pressure is on her to be the first since Chris O'Neill?
Well, huge. I mean, on the women's side, really the only person that would have had a chance to have won this tournament was Sam Stosur, who had won other majors, but couldn't do it here. Just her legs were tied up. She couldn't deal with the pressure. She wanted to do so badly that she played badly. Ash is embracing it. I feel like she plays the same way regardless of where she is, and the admiration that and the adoration that she gets now, she embraces it. So I think if anything, she'll play better tennis. So if she loses, it's because she got beaten by a better player, not because she was too nervous to play well.
I think that's a really good point. I think temperamentally, Ash Barty is probably better suited for this. I also wonder this year if it doesn't help the fact that they're not going to be packed houses. It's not going to be the typical Australian Open. You know, they trot out Russell Crowe and Olivia Newton-John. I mean, it's a different vibe this year. I do remember Barty lost last year in the semis and brought, I believe it was her niece, a small child, to the press conference. And to me, that was a little bit of a tell that she was sort of defending herself against some of the pressure that comes with not having fulfilled this. I mean, she looked great in her first round. She's the #1 seed. I mean, I think there's a lot going for her. It would be nice if she snapped this because every year it grows a little bit more. We saw this with Andy Murray at Wimbledon. But, you know, I think at some level we talk about, Texas is bigger than Australia. You know, Argentina is twice the population. Why are we picking on Australia? Pat Cash told us, you host a Grand Slam, and inevitably people are going to wonder where the local players are.
Well, it's the history.
Exactly. Well, that too, yeah.
Nice problem, though.
John brings up such a great point. I'm curious, your thoughts. Less fans, is that equal less pressure?
Yeah, I think it'll be a little bit easier in some ways, just getting through the crowd. You don't have to deal with that. At the same time, again, COVID, the rules are so different. Everything is so different. But I think they'll be happy that they'll have some crowd to play there and have that energy to feed off of. without feeling the pressure and the 20,000 people exhaling when you hit a double fault. It's like, that's not helpful. So I think it'll be, and there'll be more like real true tennis fans. So I think they'll make it easier.
John, on the men's side, you brought up Pat Rafter in your piece, Pat Cash, Leighton Hewitt, some guys that have gotten far, gotten to the finals, haven't crossed that hump. Who do we have now? Who in the men's side can actually maybe get over that line? Can anybody do it?
Well, I mean, I think that's a factor with Ash Barty, too. There really isn't a counterpart. Alex de Minaur is a player we all like and admire and enjoy watching him play. We have a number of wild cards. We obviously have Nick Kyrgios, but I don't think in that list right there, there's a real candidate outside of Ash Barty. And you mentioned Sam Stosur, who, I mean, she has struggled to win sets. I mean, she really struggled with the pressure. She won the U.S. Open, and then she would get to Melbourne and would have a hard time even getting to week 2 was something that she couldn't fulfill. So it clearly weighs on some players more than others. But I do think you look at that list, and it's pretty much Ash Barty's game right now.
Not yet, I guess. I mean, Sam Stosur did win a doubles title in Australia. You had the Woodies, so they've had success in doubles. It's just singles has eluded 43 years. Incredible.
It's time to break that. And Ash has a user-friendly draw. The bottom half is much more weighted down, so she could kind of sneak into the finals, semi-sneak into there. And then once you're in the finals, I think that's where the pressure's off in a way, because now here I am. Right. And yeah, we'll see. But I think if anybody can do it, Ash obviously would be the favorite to do it.
No, number 1 in the world. We mentioned Thanasi Kokkinakis. You know, Roger Federer slid into his DMs after that win yesterday. Said congratulations.
Beat Roger on hard courts, too, in the past.
In Miami, that's right. It's going to happen for the Aussies in Australia at some point, and Ash Barty is the favorite, as Martina said.